The very first Superman cartoon that introduced me to this superhero was the 1940 classic animation. I had every single episode in DVD format, and I remember growing up, I would rewatch every single episode from time to time, and I would never get bored rewatching these episodes. Now, if you have never seen this cartoon before, I highly recommend it. All the episodes are up on YouTube for free. If you want to watch a compilation version where it's all the episodes in one video that's 1 to 2 hours long, that also exists. I will have a link to it in the description below if you want to check it out. Now, with all that said, let's dive into today's review. And of course, before I talk about the accessories and the figure, let's take a quick look at the data profile card that is included. And the photo for this card is the comic cover that shows this Superman. I don't know which year this comic came out, but the text down here is very nostalgic. 64 pages of action, all in full color. So I'm assuming this is probably like from that period of time, maybe? I don't know. But I like when they had like descriptions like this in front of a comic book cover because, you know, it is nostalgic to see that. So pretty cool. And his real name is Clark Kent, and it reads Superman in Technicolor. I am going to assume that this is probably meaning that this animation was one of the earlier animations at the time to be in color. Most animations in this period of time were just black and white. There was no color to them. And I'm pretty sure there are probably other animations around this time that probably had color as well. But I guess for DC, Superman was the first, maybe? I don't know. I don't know my history of this, but yeah, it does say that. So that's pretty cool. And it reads, up in the sky, look, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. This amazing stranger from the planet Krypton, the Man of Steel, Superman, empowered with X-ray vision, possessing remarkable physical strength, Superman fights a never-ending battle for truth and justice. This entire description is so nostalgic. Every episode, before it begins, there is this like intro where the narrator says this exact description right here. So, yeah, pretty cool. All right, that is the card. Now let's talk about the accessories. Unfortunately, when it comes to the accessories, it is the same hand accessories we have gotten with the other two Superman figures that I did look at before. Of course, when it comes to the release order, this Superman came first, and then it was the Kingdom Come, then it was a Silver Age Superman. So technically, their hand accessories came from him. So it is this open hand gesture, flight hand, whatever you want to call these. You get 2 of these. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But that's all that's in this box. You don't get anything else. If you want to count this as an accessory, because I never count this because these are always included, it is the DC figure stand. But when it comes to accessories for the actual figure itself, it's just those 2 hands. So now this is the one case where a flight stand would have been a better option than, you know, this, because it's Superman. He flies. Why is there no flight stand for this figure? Well, luckily I have like a ton of them, so I'll show him on a flight stand later in the video. All right, let's talk about the figure now. It is the same Earth 2 body buck, as I'm trying to speak here. I do apologize. And, you know, it's very simple. Again, the costume in the animation is very simplistic. So, you know, you're not going to really expect much here. The only differences between this Superman and the other two that we looked at is mainly the S emblem, the color of his trunks, I guess, with the belt here being all red, and of course his head sculpt and the color of his costume. Now, you may think that it is the same color as the Kingdom Come Superman, but when you look closer at it in person, this has like a more darker blue to it, because the other one, I'm just going to bring him in. Let me just bring the other Superman in. I don't know if my camera is going to pick up this, you know, any better, but this one has a lighter dark blue, and this one has kind of like a darker dark blue, but they kind of look the same, right? Like from this angle. So, but there is like a little bit of a difference that I noticed with the colors. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But yeah, so when it comes to the blue paint, there's a little bit of a difference. And as you can see, the belt is pretty much simplistic. It is the same sculpted belt. It's just all red now. And then this is the only part that has a contrast, so you know there's a belt. His S emblem is very old school because, you know, most people probably don't recognize this S emblem. They recognize, you know, this one more, right? So that is the one that I think most people recognize. And of course, some of the newer ones. But this one's like very old school, so it is very nice to see this. And yeah, I like the yellow border on it. I like the fact that it's different. The S is like smaller. And yeah. All right, let's talk about the head sculpt. As for the head sculpt itself, it is very nicely sculpted. I do like the way that this came out. Is it one-to-one with what he looks like in the animation? Not exactly. Like, it's not exactly the same, but it's close enough where if you see this head sculpt, especially if you watch this cartoon before, you will recognize the Superman right away just by looking at this figure. So, and if you're wondering if his eyes are open, they are open, but it's just, you know, this was how he was drawn. So I don't know what this art style is called because I've seen other media where they drew characters where their eyes are like this, and most of the time you would assume their eyes are closed, but their eyes are open. So it is very interesting looking. But yeah, that's his eyes. As for his hair, it is just all black. There is no blue highlights like the Silver Age version. But not a bad head sculpt. Pretty spot on. Like, even from looking at it, you will tell it's the 1940s Superman. So I think they did a good job with the head sculpt. And as for the rest of the figure, it is pretty much the same things that we have seen before. All these, you know, sculpted wrinkles and stuff. It's not new. It was already on this body buck before. So that is pretty much it for the aesthetics. And I guess the last thing to point out is, of course, you do get a cloth wired cape. It is the same red cloth wired cape on the Kingdom Come Superman. So yeah, it's the same exact thing. So that is it for aesthetics. Now let's talk about the articulation really quickly. It is the same articulation, but I might as well show it for the third time. He can look up. He can look down. He can turn his head side to side. He can tilt his head side to side. His arms can go out. They can go all the way back. There is a double jointed up here with the arms, which is good. He does have swivel in the bicep. He does have swivel in the hands. There is wrist articulation. There is a swivel there. So the arm articulations is pretty good. As for his upper torso, there is rotation. There is a leaning forward, but it's not as great. When it comes to leaning back, also not good. So when I talked about how this body buck does have flaws, I believe it was in the last Superman review video, this is what I'm talking about. So, you know, it does have its problems. This body buck is not completely perfect. And there is no such thing as a perfect body buck. So, all right. In terms of rotation, there is a rotation down here in the waist. It does lean forward, not the greatest. It doesn't lean back. Actually, the waist area is actually even worse. So, yeah, when it comes to trying to get him to lean forward, you're not going to get much of that with this particular body buck, unfortunately. As for his legs, can he spread out? Yes, he can. He can do a pretty good spread out right there. It's not a full split, but it is still better than, you know, some figures, because some figures can't even spread their legs out at all sometimes. As for kicking, you can do kind of like a full kick almost. That's pretty good. He does have double jointed in the legs. He does have articulation in the feet. There is a swivel for the feet, and of course up there by the joint. He does have toe articulation, and that is pretty much all the articulation on this figure. Oh, wait. Whoa, let's not forget. There is swivel up here in the thighs. These swivels actually work on this body buck, surprisingly, because in most cases, sometimes these upper thigh swivels, they are like frozen lock on some figures. I don't know if it's because it's actually frozen or they just don't work. But yeah, sometimes they don't work, which is not good. So, Okay, let me get him onto a flight stand, and let's bring in the other Superman figures for comparison. So there he is on the flight stand. Let's bring in the Kingdom Come Superman. There he is. And here is, of course, the Silver Age Superman that came out recently. And yeah, in terms of Superman figures from Mcfarlane Toys, these three, in my opinion, are some of the better Superman figures that have been released in this recent period. If you are looking for a comic book Superman figure to be this definitive comic book Superman figure on your shelf, Silver Age 1 is literally that. This is what I called a 2.0 in my review video for this Superman figure, and I still stand by it because it is probably the best updated, more traditional comic book Superman that most people recognize. And I think they did a really good job with this one by reusing this body buck, because this body buck works for Superman. And in the topic of reuse, sometimes reuse can be excessive, where, it's not good, right? Like, for example, there have been a few body bucks they have reused in the past where you can tell that at this point it's very excessive, it's not good for this character, and it's just lazy. But in this case, when it comes to all three of these Superman figures, the body buck reuse is not a bad thing because it works for these versions. And as you can see, they're all very simplistic looking because their costumes, there's not much details to them, right? It's just their emblem that's different, their head sculpts, and of course the way their belts are painted. So in this case, when you want to reuse this body buck for these three particular Superman based on the source material that they're from, it actually works. So this is the one time where reuse is okay. But let's just say that this body buck was reused on a different character that's not Superman, and it just doesn't work for that character, then that's an example of where reuse is excessive. It's lazy. They could have done something different for that character. So, yeah. So in the end of all of this, after looking at three different Superman figures in this period, these three figures, in my opinion, are the best releases from Mcfarlane Toys when it comes to recent new Superman figures. And if you haven't picked up any of these figures, I highly recommend them. If you are a Superman fan, you will definitely want these in your collection. Especially like these three. I mean, like, they stand out the most. So, but that's my opinion, of course. You are valid to your own opinion. And in the end of the day, I'm just telling you what I'm thinking, and these are my thoughts, and have at it. And with that said, if you found today's review informative, give this video a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel for more action figure content and whatever else I do, you can. You don't have to. In the end of the day, I make these videos for fun. And with that said, take care, and I will see you in the next video.